Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. Today we are doing yet another concert outfit DIY. I guess it's kind of become my thing that if I am going to a concert, I have to DIY an outfit that replicates an outfit that the person that I'm seeing wore. I don't know why, that's just like become a thing that I do. I did it with Big Time Rush, I did it with Niall, and now, of course, I'm doing it with Jonas Brothers. I'm very excited. I decided that I wanted to recreate the Road Dogs jersey. I think it was back in like 2010. I actually saw the Road Dogs play at Duck Stadium here on Long Island. It was crazy. I don't know why and I don't know how, but I did go and see them and I was obsessed with them and I'm still obsessed with them. Here we are 15 years later, still obsessed. But I was trying to figure out what I wanted to wear to this concert, and then when I remembered that jersey, I was like, wait, that's perfect. I can totally make that. So I went on Amazon, I bought myself a plain white baseball jersey, I bought some blue paint, I bought some red paint, and we were able to somehow pull it off, I have to say. I think it came out really good. I didn't get any great pictures of it just because I wore the jersey open, so whenever I tried to get like a photo of it, you couldn't really see it. And I was a little worried with the sizing of the jersey because I didn't want the jersey to be too oversized. So I ended up getting a woman's jersey, and the way that the woman's jersey was cut, it didn't like overlap closed unless I buttoned it, and I didn't want to button it, so I don't have any photos of it looking good on my body. I will see if I can get one before I post this, but I probably can't. But I think the jersey came out really, really awesome. It wasn't too difficult of a DIY. So if you are interested in seeing how I was able to make that jersey, just keep on watching, and there may or may not be a little mini vlog at the end of this video. So make sure you stay to the end to see that, to see all of the shenanigans of the Greetings from Your Hometown tour. I'm so excited. Okay, enjoy.
Okay, so now we are switching over to a little voiceover moment. How exciting for us. And as you can see, this project started with a battle with my printer. I was having such a hard time getting the logo to be printed out in the right size for the jersey. I finally thought that I got it, and when I brought it home, it was too big for the jersey. I was so mad. And then the other ones that I printed out were too small. It was just a whole big thing. It was a very long struggle that I never want to do again. But eventually I figured that this one was the best size. So what I did was I tried to match the size of that on my phone and trace it onto the transfer paper so that I could then continue tracing the logo onto the transfer paper and have the entire logo. And as you can see, this was an absolute struggle because every time my phone felt my finger through the transfer paper, it would distort the image, it would zoom out, it would zoom in. It was just not a fun time at all. This was a very slow process, probably the slowest part of this entire project, just simply because it was killing me. I can't even watch this back without getting angry in my body. Oh my goodness, you do not understand how much of a struggle this actually ended up being. Eventually, I was able to get the first letter completely traced and I could speed run through the rest of it. It wasn't the tracing that was the problem. It was simply just the fact that my phone was not cooperating. Ideally, I probably should have printed the correct size out, but it was a whole thing, as you saw. It was not fitting on the piece of paper, and then I had to do it diagonally. It was like this whole big thing, but eventually we finally got there. As you can see, I figured out how to actually trace it on my phone without touching the screen as much as I possibly could, and then it was totally fine. Oh my gosh, but this definitely was the biggest struggle of the actual project. This was way worse than having to paint everything. I'm telling you, this was the worst part of the whole project. Anyway, back to some real information about this DIY. This transfer paper that I am using to transfer the logo onto the shirt, this is actually, I think it's called stabilization paper. For when you embroider something, you can print a pattern onto this paper and then stick it onto the fabric that you want to embroider and then embroider over it. And after you're done embroidering, you would wet this paper and it dissolves so that the only thing left on your article of clothing is your embroidery project. Now, as you can see, I am not embroidering anything. This is actually left over from the shirt that I made when I saw Niall in concert at MSG. I decided to DIY my own little embroidered shirt, the one that he wore all the time that said "The Show," an album by Niall Horan. So I had this on hand already. You don't necessarily have to use this, but what I liked about it is that I could write on it, and I liked that it was sticky so that once I cut this project out, I could stick it onto the article of clothing versus like having to hold a piece of paper to trace onto the jersey. I just thought that the sticking aspect of it would be a lot easier to handle than having to hold a piece of paper, hoping that it didn't shift slightly when I was tracing things. And as you can see, the tracing was the bane of my existence already at this point. So I am very happy that this was a sticky material that I could just stick onto the jersey and then end up tracing the logo on as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, if I was going to do this project again, I would probably put the logo into my Cricut, have the Cricut cut the logo out on vinyl. Even they do have iron-on vinyl, however, I worry that iron-on vinyl does peel up at some point. So I would probably stick it onto regular vinyl and then just stick that onto the jersey and trace it from there. I don't know why I am just thinking of that now. Or honestly, I could just use iron-on vinyl because I don't see myself ever wearing this shirt again. Yes, I know this is a lot of effort for a shirt that I was only going to wear once, but honestly, it's worth it because I love making little DIYs for concerts. I think it's so much fun. But anyway, now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have just used my Cricut, had it cut the design out itself, and then I wouldn't have had to struggle so much with this project. You know what? We live and we learn. And if you're watching this and you have a Cricut and you want to do this project, learn from me. Take my advice, learn from my mistakes, do it the right way. Don't struggle like I did, okay? Just do it the easiest way you possibly could, unless you want to struggle. If you want to struggle, that's all you. I honestly, you got to do you know what I mean? I support any of your decisions, whatever they may be. Anyway, I don't know what the heck that was, but let's just keep moving, I guess. And then we had to deal with the phone debacle for the other side of this logo. As you can see, I'm trying to match the size on my phone with the size on the paper. This was the worst thing I could ever do. This was so frustrating. It honestly almost made me not want to finish the project, but I was too far in. I bought all the supplies. I had nothing else to wear to the concert, so obviously I had to do this. But this truly was like the worst possible way to go about it, and if I was doing it again, I would do it differently. But unfortunately, I'm not doing it again. This is how I did it, and it's just what I had to deal with. So, a little pro tip if you also want to make this project, make sure that the size that you print out the logo is the correct size for your jersey. Make sure that it fits on the paper so that you can just trace it right onto transfer paper. Don't do what I did, because this, I think honestly, this took 3 years off of my life. I don't ever suggest anybody doing this the way that I did it, but this is what I did, and I can't take it back at this point because it's over. I never claim to be an educational source, but feel free to learn from my mistakes and just don't do what I do, because there is 100% an easier way to do this, and sometimes I just like to do it the hard way because it builds character. Why not, right? Let's just say that's why I did it. Let's say that I struggled through this at an excruciating time at night just simply because it builds character. And honestly, now that I am here recording this voiceover, I really don't know why I left so much of this footage in the video. But you know what? It's symbolic, because if I had to suffer through this, so do you. And if you don't want to suffer through this, feel free to skip to this time so that you can see me move on to the next thing, because this was genuinely the longest part of this entire DIY. Like, you would think the painting and stuff was the longest part. No, it was this. And it didn't have to be this long. I don't know why I did this way. Genuinely, looking back at this, I really don't know why I suffered through this entire thing when there are so many easier ways to do this. And if for some reason you have stayed to listen to me yap all of this time, comment down below your favorite Jonas brother. Personally, I've always been a Nick girly, but after the concert, am I a Joe girly? I don't know. Always Nick at heart though, for sure, 100%. And I hate to say it, but even though I've included all of this footage, I didn't include any of me cutting the template out of the paper. I think by now it's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, I cut the letters out of the transfer paper, I stuck it on to the jersey where I liked it, made sure that it was straight and positioned correctly, and then I traced it. I traced it with a pen, nothing special. I am sure that there are some kind of like heat reactive pens that exist so you can trace something onto a shirt and then you throw it in the dryer and all of the pen disappears, but for me, I just used a normal pen and I traced the letters onto the jersey. I would say at this point, this DIY is pretty self-explanatory. After I trace the letters, I'm gonna peel the transfer paper off and then we're gonna start painting it. I really wish that I had done the voiceover before editing the entire video because there is so much like useless stuff in this video that you probably don't need to see, but you're gonna see it anyway because that's just what I want to do. So after I have traced everything, I peeled it off, I put some cardboard underneath my jersey. Make sure you don't forget that because you do not want your paint to bleed through. And then I just got this blue fabric paint from Amazon. It was nothing special. I just picked a blue shade that I thought looked the closest to the original jersey. And then I started painting it. And this is very tedious as well, but honestly not as bad as the tracing of the letters. I made sure to be very careful while I was doing this. I started with outlining the letters and then I would fill in as I went. This may sound a little crazy, but because I wanted to make sure that the outline was so crisp, I'm actually using an eyebrow brush. You could probably tell because it's got a spoolie on the other end, but I liked this brush because it was flat, it had a nice straight line, it was angled. I honestly think that this was one of the best tools that I could have used for this project. I'm sure there are paintbrushes out there that are flat and angled, but this is what I had on hand. I wasn't gonna run to the store and buy a new brush, but I definitely think that this was a really good option because it really helped me keep the outline of these letters very crisp, very clean. While I was painting this, I did have to rotate my shirt very often because I wanted to make sure that my hand was not leaning into the paint that I had just painted because obviously the paint was wet, and if it got on my hand and then I leaned on the jersey, it would have left giant stains and that just would not have been good. So you will see that I periodically kind of twist the shirt around. I'm changing positions around the table. I'm changing the way that I'm holding the brush, and it was a lot. It was tedious, but honestly, I really do think that it is so worth it. I think the jersey came out really well. Also, a little side note, if you are going to be doing this project, make sure that you plan ahead and give this enough time to dry. I wouldn't say that you have to like start this project months in advance. If I'm being completely honest, I started this project the week of the concert. So it's not like you need a lot of time to make this project, but I did notice after doing the first layer of the paint that it definitely needed a second layer, but I wanted to make sure that the first layer was dried all the way through. So you want to make sure that you have enough time for the first layer to dry, perhaps to do a second layer and then to have that dry. So I would say if you're going to make this, at least a week is needed. Honestly, maybe not even a week, maybe like 2 or 3 days, depending on how much you paint and how much you work on it. But this is definitely not like a last minute project. And as a chronic procrastinator, I am just trying to help you guys, okay? I don't want y'all going to the concert with wet paint on your jersey and then it gets all over everything and then it ruins the outfit. I don't want that to happen to you. It didn't happen to me and I don't want it to happen to you. And just like that, the first layer was officially done. I do regret doing those little overlap spots in the middle. I think they look so bad. But as you can see, there were a few little patchy spots, nothing crazy. So I decided to let this dry overnight so that I can come back to it the next day and start the second layer. Now, I could have just gone over the entire thing and redone it, but at this point, I was pretty much over it. So I decided to just go in, and all of the spots where I could see white patches coming through is where I touched up. While I was tidying up some of the white patches, I was also making sure that the outline was as neat and clean as possible. Now, of course, putting paint onto a piece of fabric, the paint is going to bleed just a little bit. It was nothing crazy, but there were just some tiny little spots where the paint seemed to feather a little bit into the fabric, and I wanted to make sure that it was as neat as possible. So I just went back in and I fixed those spots as well. And then it was time to go in and add the number. Now, I went with the number 25 because it is 2025, so I figured that that would make the most sense for the number that I put on my jersey. However, you can put whatever number you want. If you want to match one of the boys' jerseys, I think Joe wore number 1, Nick wore number 2, and Kevin wore number 19. So if you want to do one of those, you could do your lucky number. It literally does not matter, but I wanted to do 25. I traced out a number 25. I thought that I could get away with just flipping the 2 over, and I couldn't. So I had to trace the 2 and the 5, but I did it the same way. I traced it from my phone, and then I cut it out and stuck it onto the jersey. And even though the tracing off of my phone was still an issue, it seemed to be a lot easier with the numbers because they were just straight lines all over and not these weird, crazy cursive letters.
Is this completely necessary? Not even a little bit, but am I dead set on doing it? Yes. So now I have to do it. But I don't need to. I was also debating doing the numbers on the back, but I think I just have to end it here because today is literally the day of the concert, and I'm still doing stuff.
Overall, I would say this DIY was a very basic DIY. It's a lot of repetition. I am just cutting the letters out, and then I'm going to stick them onto the jersey so that I can trace them, which is exactly what I did with the letters as well. And then after I trace them, I am going to fill them in with paint. So yeah, this project is simply just a lot of the same steps over and over and over again. There really is minimal skill needed for this, which I think is why I decided to do it, because it wasn't that crazy of a project. It definitely felt very doable. Not like all of the people going to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, basically recreating her costumes from the show, embroidering beads onto bodysuits and sewing these giant outfits. I don't know how y'all did that, but I aspire to be just like you. Also, I want absolutely no judgment in the comments, but it has taken 15 years for me to realize that this is just the Dodgers logo. Why did I not notice that before? It's literally the same font and the same color. How did I not know this? Also, why did they pick the Dodgers? I'm so confused.
That went way smoother than I thought it was going to. And now I'm going to paint it with this red paint because the letters on their jerseys were blue, but the numbers on their jerseys were red. And now I'm really debating doing the back. No, I think I need to stop here. Anyway, I'm going to paint it now.
Don't forget to put the cardboard between layers. I cannot stress this enough because when I did my Big Time Rush jersey, which I rhinestoned, you can check out that video if you haven't, I almost forgot to, and I almost ended up gluing the jersey together. So always make sure that you have cardboard between your layers.
But let me tell you, getting to paint these straight lines on the numbers was such a nice treat after having to do the cursive letters of the logo. I mean, I think the numbers were my favorite part of this entire project. And honestly, I know at the time of filming this, I was going back and forth with the idea of putting the number on the back of the jersey as well. I really don't think I needed it. Nobody was going to see the back of my jersey anyway, so I really don't think that it would have made a difference if I had put the number on the back of the jersey. It would have just been way too much work for me to do for this show, and I just think that it's fine on the front. I think overall the jersey came out really, really well. I am very happy that I was able to execute the vision that I had for this outfit. Also, shout out to the other 2 people I saw at the concert in Road Dogs jerseys, because I was convinced that nobody would get this outfit. I felt like I was like in some underground club, but it's nice to know that there are still some Road Dogs fans out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the outfit. I hope y'all like it.
I'm pretty proud of this, I'm not gonna lie. I think it looks great.
And then the journey to MetLife Stadium began. We decided to drive because we didn't want to worry about public transportation. So we drove, bumping Jonas Brothers all the way there, of course. The drive wasn't too bad. It was about, I want to say like 2.5 hours. It wasn't terrible, but we finally made it. And I was so excited. I was really feeling myself in this outfit. I'm not going to lie. I thought it looked really great. The merch line was, of course, crazy, but I did get one of those little like glowy bracelets, which I have never had at a concert before in my life. Of course, I was deciding between 2 t-shirts, and the one t-shirt that I really wanted wasn't in my size. So I ended up getting this t-shirt instead, which honestly was a venue exclusive t-shirt, so I was pretty okay with it. Our seats were all the way up in the 300s, and when I am saying all the way up, guys, I mean all the way up. I think we were literally the 3rd row from the top, which was a scary experience for somebody who is afraid of heights like I am, but it's okay. I didn't fall down, and I had a really great view of the show. We had the All-American Rejects as our opener, and I am shocked to inform you guys that I actually do know a few All-American Rejects songs. I didn't think I would know any coming into this, but apparently I do. We will recap everything concert-wise at the end during a little recap. I'm not going to post the entire concert, of course, because copyright, and that would just be insane. So, yeah, that's it. Enjoy the sunset, and we'll recap the show right now.
So that happened. My lips are so chapped right now. It's actually Tuesday at this moment that I am filming this, because we didn't end up getting home until almost 2 a.m. Driving from the stadium, we decided we wanted to stop for some McDonald's after because we were starving, and we waited on the drive-thru line for an hour. And you're probably wondering why we did that. You're probably thinking, like, why wouldn't you just leave? Because by the time we realized we had been sitting there for an hour, we had already committed that long. So we weren't just gonna leave. The show was incredible.
What if I told you tonight that you're exactly where you're supposed to be? Not just in the city, not just in the stadium, but in this moment. Look around. We come from different places, different streets, different stories, different sides of the map. But a fan always finds a way back. Because life doesn't fit on a postcard. It's messy, it's loud, it takes detours. But somehow, it always brings us right back home. So wherever you came from, whatever road brought you here, tonight, this is your home. And this is your family.
as you have probably heard and seen, honestly, since that night, my entire social media For You page, my entire Instagram feed, everything is talking about the events that occurred, all the guests. I knew going into this that there were going to be some guests at the concert. They were very vocal about the fact that there were going to be guests at the concert. And I had actually seen somebody post about Switchfoot being one of the guests. So I did know that that was happening.
And as we were making the record, it really kind of summarized our journey as family and as a band, both musically and our roots here in New Jersey and our story. And Joe had the great idea. Joe, the great idea. What was it?
Well, Nick, great idea of being able to have these guys part of that album. On Green from your hometown. And we invited them out here tonight. We sent them a message and they were so kind enough to be with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Switchfoot!
I had no idea that Jesse McCartney was going to be there at all.
He's an incredible talent. We hit him up and we said, hey, would you mind coming out and throwing down for Jersey? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Jesse McCartney.
9-year-old me was screaming. She would have been on the ground. Loved Jesse McCartney. When he guest starred on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, my heart, I literally can't. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who Dean Lewis is at all, genuinely. So that one really didn't matter to me. But Demi Lovato.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No! Demi freaking Lovato, Mitchie Torres coming out and singing Camp Rock in the year 2025. No, you guys don't even understand. Camp Rock, I was obsessed with Camp Rock. I was obsessed with Demi Lovato. Demi is the reason that when I was in 6th grade going into 7th grade, she's the reason I cut bangs. I had ugly straight bangs because in Camp Rock, Demi Lovato had straight bangs as Mitchie Torres. And I was like, that's it. I have to do it because I have to be like her. Mitchie Torres was literally the reason I wanted to start writing music and singing. Demi Lovato's Don't Forget album went triple platinum in my bedroom as a middle schooler. If you don't agree, I'm sorry, but I genuinely think Demi is one of the best vocalists, if not the best vocalist we've ever gotten from Disney Channel. She looks gorgeous. I mean, she was glowing. I actually can't. Also, even if the guests weren't there, hearing the Jonas Brothers performing live, the old songs that I used to listen to, SOS, Hold On, Burning Up, I mean, I just can't believe that I witnessed that. Seeing everybody being really jealous that they weren't at the show with Demi and Jesse McCartney, that's my new personality trait. That's gonna be my personality for the foreseeable future. I was there, guys. I did that. They each had a little clothing item that represented Jersey in some way. For those of you who don't know, if you're watching this and you don't know, the Jonas Brothers are from New Jersey. So it was really special all around. It was the opening night of the Greetings from My Hometown tour. It was their hometown show. Their whole family was there. Oh my gosh, when they brought out their parents and Frankie and Danielle and the kids at the very end to sing When You Look Me in the Eyes. No. Overall, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I did get the venue exclusive t-shirt, which is awesome. I was debating between the venue exclusive and the just regular generic tour merch. I still want the regular tour t-shirt that says Greetings from My Hometown, Jonas 20 on it, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that was it. Not only was this the opening night of the Greetings from My Hometown tour, it's also the 20th year of the Jonas Brothers. I fear we're never topping this. And after the events that occurred, I am so glad I got the venue exclusive because now I can prove to y'all that I was there. All American Rejects opened. I know a few of their songs apparently, but you know, like that wasn't really something that I was looking forward to. And then there was like a whole set in the middle that like Marshmello. It felt like I was at an EDM concert. I don't know. My friend who I went with actually apparently loves Marshmello, so she was having a great time, which is awesome. I don't personally love Marshmello, so, but my gosh, what a show. What a tour. What a band of brothers. I feel like I was just a part of history. I was in the room where it happened. Honestly, having to go back to real life after what I witnessed, it was a crime. I had to go to work the next day and like act like nothing happened. Act like I didn't witness the greatest reunion between Mitchie Torres and Shane Gray and listen to them sing Camp Rock. I had to act like I didn't see Jesse McCartney sing Beautiful Soul live in 2025. Regarding the outfit, I think it went well. It was an easy enough thing to do. I will say, I wish that I had gone to the show at Yankee Stadium because it would have made more sense for me to wear that there because it was a baseball jersey. I believe that there are some baseball stadium shows coming up on the tour. So if you're seeing the Jonas Brothers at a baseball stadium and you don't have an outfit idea, make the Road Dogs jersey because it would be so perfect. I enjoyed making it. I think it came out really great. I am glad that I added the numbers last minute. I don't know if I'll ever be the same again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm fully like, this literally happened like after the Big Time Rush concert. I was fully in my Big Time Rush phase again. Now I'm fully back in my Jonas Brothers phase and I'm fully back in my Camp Rock phase. Middle school and high school me is coming back. Big Time Rush, the Jonas Brothers, Camp Rock, Hannah Montana because it's 20 years of Hannah Montana as well. I think the world is healing. I think the world is healing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I don't go to concerts very often, but when I do like to make little mini vlogs of the concert. I like to put together cutesy little outfits. So if you're interested in any of that, you should definitely subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media if you are interested. I will link it all down below. Comment down below your favorite Jonas Brothers song, or your favorite Camp Rock song, or your favorite Demi Lovato song, or all of them. Were you also, greetings from my hometown, did you also witness history? Are you forever changed? Are we better than everybody else? I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.